I think it started. I never know exactly when the live stream starts, but hi, Bob the Canadian here. Welcome to this live English lesson on sports. If you are watching this live, I just want to say hello to you. If you're watching this later on, hello to you as well. I should just double check to make sure everything is working on the technical front. It sounds like it's working. So anyways, let me start by saying our topic today is sports, and I'm pretty excited about this topic. Even though I am not really a huge sports fan, it is a great topic for learning English. I'm just going to jump over to the chat and say hi to everybody. Hi Lolly and Golsa. Hi Tejman. Kazim, Rachel is here. Lingard, Yasuhiro is here, Sejan is here, Reza is here, Sentakar is here, Urzula is here, Karen is here, Lawson SM is here, he must be back from his trip. Clive is here, Envy is here, Beryl Wilson is here, and I still have trouble saying that name. Xiaodong is here, Johnson is here, Never Nothing is here. There are a lot of people here. It's getting to be too many names to say. Van is here, Nathan, Min, Yada, Tim Liu, Kazim, and I said Kazim already, and Le Van Q, and Peter, 28 is here, and Nihad is here. We're going to talk about sports today. So what I'm going to do is go over some sports terms, some words from sports, but also some sports phrases. I already used one phrase in the chat earlier. I said that it's good to cover all your bases when you're learning English, which means even if you don't like sports, you should still learn about sports for sure. Hello, Blanca and Lucas and Lingard and Nihad. How are you guys? So let's start with the simple words. A person who plays a sport is called a player. There's a couple other words. We could say athlete, so player or athlete. We also in English use the term professional athlete. That means that you get paid usually lots of money to play a sport. So our first word is player, and also athlete and professional athlete. A player plays usually on a team, and I'm mostly going to talk about team sports today. Sports like football and soccer and baseball, sports where you play on a team. I'm not going to talk too much about individual sports. Tim says he's not good at sports. Hi Beata, hi Lanja, how are you guys doing? Hi Lulu. I'm not that great at sports anymore either, Tim. I was, but I'm getting older, so I tend to play things that are a little easier. The person who is in charge of the team, the leader of the team, is what we call a coach. So you can see this guy here is teaching this young person, this young boy, how to play a sport. So a coach is kind of the head of the team. In fact, we have another term called head coach. So a team usually has a coach. They might have more than one coach, in which case one of the coaches is the head coach, the person who is totally in charge of the team. So we also have, and some people love these people and some people get really angry at them, but we have referees or umpires depending on the sport. Many sports have what we call a referee, a person who makes sure that everyone follows the rules of the game. And some sports call that person an umpire. I know in American baseball, you have umpires. And here in Canada, in hockey, we have referees. So, Clive says he loves sports. How about you? Kazim says greetings from Kurdistan, and Lawson SM says he has a horse, but that's all he wants to do. So a little bit of a different sport, but oftentimes referees blow a whistle. In some sports, the referee has a whistle. And I'm pretty sure this is from the game of soccer or football. This referee is blowing the whistle and giving someone a red card, which is never a good thing when you are playing a sport. But sports have players and coaches and referees, but professional sports, the big sports, wouldn't be anywhere without fans or what we also call spectators. So many of us, I'm sure, are sports fans. So we like to watch a certain kind of sport. Some of you, I'm sure, like watching football or soccer, as we call it in Canada. Some of you might like watching some of the American sports, like baseball. I'm not sure if it was Clive that said last week that he really liked sports. And I think one of the reasons we're doing this is because of that request. But I'm sure a lot of you are fans. And in English, we say things like, I'm a big fan of hockey, or I'm a big fan of soccer. So when you say big fan, it means that you're really, really into that sport. Where do you play a sport? So some sports are played in a stadium. A stadium is a huge building, sometimes with a roof, sometimes without, where fans sit in the seats and they watch a sport. Sometimes we call the seats bleachers. But this is a stadium. Other sports, like hockey, are played in an arena. So an arena is, this is an ice rink, and it's located in what we would call a hockey arena. So I think other sports are played in arena. In fact, I think in the UK, some stadiums are also called arenas. Really depends, right? Liv Van Q says he's a fan of Barcelona. So I knew we would get some football fans in here. Gervier wants to say, I think the idiom blow the whistle on came from soccer. Yeah, when you blow the whistle on someone in life, it means that you're kind of telling on them. You're revealing something that they're doing. Drake says, hi, Mr. Bob. Cesar is here from Mexico. Sassy is here. Gosia is here. Hello, everyone. Never Nothing is here. Hi, how are all of you doing? Baseball is played in a ballpark. We also call this a stadium, but we can call it a ballpark as well. And this right here is called a baseball diamond. So I know I'm jumping from sport to sport, but I wanted to make sure I cover just kind of a broad look at all of the different words that you can use in a sport. And then lastly, we had ballpark with a baseball diamond. Some games are played on a court. So this is a basketball court. Tennis is another game that's played on a court. And some games are played on a field, like soccer, but also I think you can call it a soccer pitch. I think people in the UK, in Britain, call it a soccer pitch. So Clive says, I'm a big fan of MLB, which is Major League Baseball. I thought it was you, Clive. I was pretty sure last week on the Saturday night live stream you mentioned that. So Troll Agent just wants a clarification on pronunciation. Do you pronounce the T in the word often? So it depends how fast I'm talking. If I am talking really slowly, I will say often. But if I'm talking really fast, I'll say often. So it's really a matter of speed. We're going to go away from words for a sec to talk about one phrase. So this is a phrase in English that came from the sporting world, and it's dropped the ball, and that is to make a mistake. So let's say, for instance, if I forgot to come to work this morning to do a live stream, I would have dropped the ball. So it's kind of a phrase probably related to a sport like baseball or rugby. But if you say in English that someone dropped the ball, it means that they made a mistake. Lolly says the ball is in your court. Yes, that means it's my turn. That's a great one, Lolly. And then Lulu says, I live near Arsenal. Oh, that's really cool. That's an awesome place to live. Rachel's a big fan. Thanks, Rachel. And Hospita says, hi, Bob. Greetings from Brazil. Let's get back to some words. So score is how you keep track of who is winning a game. So the score here is 3-1. We often put a dash in between, but we would say, oh, the score is 3-1. What I don't have a page for is we often have a home team and an away team that play. So the home team is playing at home, and the away team is the visiting team that's playing. The score is often put up on a scoreboard. So here we have a scoreboard with the score on it. Lost says, my whole family is really good at basketball. And then there's me, I run away from the ball. And Cesar says, which hockey sport team do you root for? I generally root for the Maple Leafs, the Toronto Maple Leafs, but I don't watch a lot of hockey, which kind of don't tell the other Canadians that I don't watch a lot of hockey. Depending on the sport, when you score, when you get the ball in the net or when you get the hockey puck in the net, you score. We say it's a goal or a point. So in games like football, soccer, we say goal or they got a point. So you say scored a goal and you got a point. So in basketball, we just use points. So it depends on the sport. You'll have to research yourself which sport uses what. But a goal is when you score on the other team. By the way, this is the net. So you score on the net. If you get enough points on the scoreboard, you win. So I know this isn't sports, but I couldn't find a picture of people winning a sport, so I found this picture. This boy has won something, so he's pretty happy. So when you get enough points, your team wins the game. And then we have, I split this up into the noun is loss and the verb is to lose. So if you lose a game, then it is a loss for your team. And this person's really sad. So I'm pretty sure they lost their game. So Xiao Dong wants to know, why do you not have subtitles this time? So the live lessons don't have subtitles because it's impossible to have subtitles while I am live. But I think if you watch it tomorrow, Xiao Dong, I think it will have automatic subtitles. The videos I make on Tuesdays, I make the subtitles. They always have subtitles. So I know it's a little harder to understand the live stream, but because there's no subtitles. But try back tomorrow and watch it in repeat. If you have the same amount of points as the other team, it's a tie. So this game is tied 2-2. That means that both teams scored the same amount of goals and both teams have 2 points. So it's a tie. Sometimes when there's a tie, you go into what we call overtime. So a game is a certain length. And if at the end, for certain sports only, if the game is tie at the end of the regulation play, at the end of the normal amount of time, sometimes you have overtime. So you play for an additional period or part of the game so that you can see who the winner is. Sometimes my live streams go into overtime. Sometimes I go longer than I mean to. So Lost in SM says, I never win. Sorry, Lost in SM. And Gerbir says, when a team wins, it moves up the table. Yeah, so it moves up the table or the chart or in the standings. And we'll go over that in a sec too. Some teams have a bench. So this row of boys is sitting on a bench. And the bench is the area where you sit when you are not playing. So oftentimes a team will have more players than they need, and many of the players will sit on the bench because maybe only 5 or 11 players are allowed on the field or the court at one time. So they will sit on the bench. In baseball, we call this the dugout, but in most other sports, we call it the bench. And the bench is located, let's see if I can find this. I had a page with it on. Maybe I don't have it anymore. Sorry, I'm a little bit disorganized here. Oh well, we'll get to it eventually. I was going to say the bench is usually on the sideline. So players often wear a uniform when they're playing a sport. So you can see this baseball player is wearing his team's uniform. Often teams will have specific colors as well. So this team's uniform is gray and blue, and you can see that the pants and the shirt are gray, the belt, the helmet, and the lettering is all blue. So this is this team's uniform. Especially in games like football, having uniform colors makes it easy for you to know who your fellow players are. and who is on the other team. Tie and draw, are they the same? Yeah, so a tie and a draw I think are the same, for sure. Some sports have equipment. So when you play a sport like American football, you have a helmet, shoulder pads. Underneath his shirt, he has shoulder pads, and he has knee pads as well. So this is a sport where you need lots of equipment. Hockey is another sport where you need lots of equipment, but certainly there are a lot of different sports where you need equipment. So this is the general term for the things that you need to play that sport. In tennis, you need a racket and tennis shoes. In soccer or football, you need, I guess, shorts, shin pads, and you need maybe another piece of protective gear besides that. Let's see here. Gerbier says, tie also means draw. Yes. Lost in SM says, we played some games and it was like Germany against France. France always won. I hope that there's no arguments in the chat today between countries. It's a good thing that the World Cup's over and it's not World Cup time right now. Otherwise, people might start arguing. Lucas says, what is the most popular sport in Canada? It's definitely hockey is the most popular sport. And some sports, I guess motorcycle racing is a sport, have what we call sponsors. So sponsors are people who pay money to get their stickers onto the athlete or onto the sidelines of the arena. So you'll see when you watch the World Cup, when you're watching football or soccer, you'll see that sponsors have paid money all along the sidelines. There's advertising, and those are what we call sponsors. In a lot of ways, professional sports exist because of sponsors. Sponsors pay a lot of money to advertise. And that gives the sports league money. So a league is the organization in which the teams play. So in America, we have American football, and they play in the National Football League. I think this is the European Football League. I could be wrong. Earlier, Clive mentioned that he was an MLB fan, and that stands for Major League Baseball. So there are leagues that professional teams play in. Uu is here. Hi, Uu. Welcome. Good to see you. She loves swimming and playing sport very much because it's healthy. It's definitely healthy. It's good to get out there and do something fun. David says, I'm David from Brazil. Hello, David. Hello, Willis. And hello, Golsa. Welcome. Good to see you too. When teams play in a league, they have a schedule. So you can ignore this guy, but on this side, we have a list of the dates and who the team is playing. So when a team plays in a league, they have a schedule, and the schedule basically says, on these days, you'll be playing these games against a certain team. The schedule has parts to it, though. There's the season or the regular season. So the regular season is all of the games that a team will play before playoffs start. And we'll talk about playoffs in a minute. But maybe they'll have a 60-game season. So they'll play all the other teams in the league for 60 different games. So they'll play some teams more than once. And at the end of the season, if they are number one in the standings, so the standings, this is a record of the team name and how many wins and losses they have. So fans are always very interested in the standings. It's nice to know, oh, they're first place in the standings right now, or they're third place in the standings. So the standings are a record of how well a team is doing in their regular season league play. Hopefully that makes some sense. Outside of regular season play, some teams, especially here in Canada in high school, will go to a tournament. So a tournament is when more than one team goes to a location and they take turns playing each other. I won't go into too much detail. Most professional sports don't play in tournaments. They just play they go and they travel and they play against one team and they come home again. But in some amateur sports, this is non-professional sports, teams will play in a tournament. So maybe 6 teams will get together on one day and they'll all play a game against each other. That's a tournament. What's the difference between a game and sport? That's kind of hard to say. All I know for sure is that sport is the general term for when people do play games. So you go and play a game if you are someone who likes playing sports. I don't know if that was a good description, Gervier, I'm sorry. After the regular season, though, we move into what's called playoffs. So this is when, let's say there are 20 teams in a league, maybe only 8 teams can be in playoffs. So at the end of the regular season, those 8 teams are high enough in the standings that they make it to the playoffs. And usually the playoffs has a number of rounds to it. We have semifinals, which is playing for who gets second or third or fourth place. This is when there's still usually 4 or 8 teams. Actually, quarterfinals is 4 teams. Let me get this straight. Semifinals, then you go to quarterfinals when there's only 4 teams left. And then eventually you go to what we call the finals. The finals is the last round of playoffs where you determine who gets first place and who wins. So, hello Desfield, hello Kate. Sometimes in certain sports, you play best of. So instead of playing one game, you might play best of 3 or best of 5. And what this means is that my team will play your team. If it's a best of 3, we will play 3 games in a row, and then it's the best of 3. So if we win 2 of the 3, then we won all of it. So sometimes things are broken down where it's not just one game, it's more than one game. Here's another saying for you that comes from the sporting world. To hit it out of the park is to do an amazing job. So sometimes when I do my live streams or I make a video, I hit it out of the park because I do a really good job. And sometimes it's not as interesting as I would hope it would be. But when you hit something out of the park, it means that you're doing an amazing job. This comes from baseball, by the way, the game of baseball. You're trying to hit the ball out of the park. Let's see here. Sometimes the referee or the umpire gives you a penalty or gives you a card, depending on the sport that you're playing. In hockey, you get a penalty. So that means that you did something wrong in your game and you need to go and sit in the penalty box. In soccer, I think you get yellow or red cards, which mean different degrees of you having done something bad. So sometimes you get a penalty or you get a card. If it's bad enough, if you are a bad player and you did something really bad, sometimes you get ejected. When you get ejected from a game, it means like you're out. Like you have to leave the arena, you have to leave the stadium because you've done something really bad. And the umpire or the referee has ejected you. In baseball, if you get 3 strikes, you're out. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the game of baseball, but you get 3 strikes, you're out. And we use this in life too, like 3 mistakes and that's it. So sometimes you'll hear someone, with students for instance, I'll say to a student, you know, this is the 3rd time that you've done something bad in class, so 3 strikes, you're out. So even though this is a baseball term, we do use it sometimes in real life as well. Back to this though, if you do something really, really bad, you can get ejected, but if it's horribly bad, you can get a suspension. So if you get a suspension, it means you're not allowed to play that sport at all for a certain number of days. So sometimes people will get a 7-day suspension or a 5-day suspension from a sport, in which case they're not allowed to play that sport anymore. It's not good when that happens. The edge of a field is called the sideline. So this referee or umpire is standing on the sideline of the field. Many sports have sidelines. If something goes past the sideline, so you can't quite see it here, but this ball has gone out of bounds. So we say that if this is the line on the basketball court where you can that you need to play within. If the ball goes out or crosses that line, we say that it is out of bounds. Players can also go out of bounds. Hello, Esther. How are you? I see some people are speaking, looks like German in the chat. That's pretty cool. It's good that you guys are getting to know each other. Here's another, just a few more English phrases. I did this one yesterday on my other YouTube channel, but when you are in the ballpark, when you're talking about money, it means that you've guessed really close to the amount that someone was thinking about. So if I said to someone, I'm selling my car, and someone says, will you take $5,000 for it? But I really want $6,000. I could say, well, you're in the ballpark. Like, you're close to the amount of money that I want to sell you my car. I think this one came up before. Sometimes we say the ball is in your court. And what this means is if I've done a certain amount of work to get something so far along, I could say to someone, the ball's in your court now. So I've done everything I need to do for this. If you want to go to the next step, it's your move or your turn. So the ball is in your court. Gervier says, does beat, defeat, trounce, rattle, vanquish, I'm not sure what pip is, and decimate are all synonyms. So they're close. Like, I can defeat the other team, we can trounce them. If you rattle them, it doesn't mean you won though, Gervier. It just means that you might be able to beat them because they're not playing their best game. Vanquish definitely means that. And decimate means like the score was like 80-3, then you would have decimated at the other team. Do people say any particular kind of cheers, and what's that like? That's a good question. Different sports have different cheers. I'm not sure exactly what sports have what. Sometimes it's specific to the team. Here's another saying, out of my league is way better than me. So if there was, let's say I went somewhere and the person who was there was a way better teacher than me, I could just say, well, they're out of my league because they're so much better at me at what they're doing. It's like they're in, I'm finding it here, it's like they're in a league of their own. So if you're really, really good at what you do, you're probably out of my league, which means you're really good at it, and you're probably in a league of your own. So I would say things like in the movie Avengers, Tony Stark is in a league of his own when it comes to building things. Hey, Think Positive. Hey, Carlos. Good evening. Just finished dinner and I love to play badminton. Oh, badminton is a good sport. I didn't talk a lot about individual sports. I talked a lot about team sports, but badminton, tennis, racquetball, cool sports. If you're on the ball, it means that you're really good at something or you're on top of things. So this morning, because I had my lesson ready to go, you could say that I was on the ball. That meant that I was prepared. So that's another sports saying. Front runner. So the person who is in the lead, even if this is not referring to a race, we still use the term front runner. So if you are applying for a job, you could be the front runner. You could be the person who is most likely to get the job. And to get the ball rolling is to make the first move or to get something started. So you might be sitting in a group of people and you all want to have an English conversation, but no one is talking. So you might get the ball rolling by being the first person to talk. So those are just some sayings that we use. All of them come from sport. A lot of them involve a ball of all things. So get the ball rolling. Hey, I'm through my whole stack of papers. That goes quickly for me sometimes. I can't believe it's been half an hour. It's been fun. I don't know if you noticed, I'm a little more tired today than normal. I don't think I slept well, but it's still fun to come in and do a live stream with you guys. Gervir says, what kind of movies would you recommend to an English learner? So Gervir, what I often recommend is movies that are based on a book so that you can read the book and then go see the movie. It's just a really good activity to do because you read the book and then you have a sense of what's going to happen. And when you watch the movie, you're more likely to understand it. So I know that's not a specific movie, but that is what I highly recommend. Read the book. When you're done reading the book, go and watch the movie, and then watch the movie twice. Yasuhiro says, 2020 Olympics going to be held in Tokyo. What sports do you like? Well, I like Summer Olympics, Winter Olympics. I just love watching most of it. In our house, when the Olympics are on, the TV is on all day. And whenever we have a chance, we sit down and we watch some television. Lost in M says, oh wait, it's already been half an hour. Yeah, it goes quick, Lost in SM. Sorry about that. It goes quickly all the time. So that's too bad. And I do need to go in a little bit. If anyone has any questions, please ask though. I do have a couple minutes right now to answer some questions. Put them in the chat. And for those of you that haven't done this yet, hit the thumbs up button if this helped you. And if you're new here, please subscribe. There's a button down there. It says subscribe. Probably says something else in your language, abandonner or something like that, but click that. Lots of really cool English lessons on this channel. Live stream tomorrow night, by the way, and new video next Tuesday. You guys all know the drill. Assad says, what about cartoon movies because they are really easy to understand? So I recommend most Disney movies, okay? I recommend those because they're somewhat easy to understand. You can also watch them usually in your own language and then watch them in English. So you can watch it in your own language so you understand it and then watch it in your own language. Esther says, can you explain to us what we should use to do, play or go according to sports? So that's, what should we use? So you'd use both actually. Like I could go to a soccer game, but I could also play soccer. So when you go to a game, it usually means you're going to watch it. But when you go to play the game, it means you're going to play it. So hopefully that makes some sense. Lulu says, what kind of books? So this question, Lulu, came up last week too. And I think I said in the last live stream, I would make a list of good books and I didn't do that. So I will do that this weekend. I will make a list of books for beginners, for intermediate and for advanced, and I'll put it in the comments. I promise that I will do that this time. Lolly says, time flies. Yes. Let's just talk all day. I'm bored. Yeah, unfortunately, I have to go to work. Lucas says he likes the opening ceremony. So a lot of big sporting events, and especially the Olympics, have opening ceremonies. They are very, very nice. Izan says, I'm so surprised to contact here. Yeah, it's cool that you guys are contacting and talking to each other. Gervir says, I think you should watch cartoons. Yes, cartoons are definitely good. Any plans for the weekend? Well, I think tonight we're going to a concert where some choirs are singing in a local city. And then tomorrow, just work on the farm, and I'll do a live stream tomorrow night. Lulu says, thanks, Bob. So, hey, folks, it's 8:33 here a.m. I need to go. My work day is starting soon. This was a great live stream again. Thank you so much for the 70 people or so that came. That's awesome. I hope that you have a really good day. Don't forget to come back and watch this live stream again tomorrow, especially if you had trouble understanding some of the words. It'll be available for you tomorrow. Just come back, get a cup of coffee or tea, sit and watch the live stream again. It's good for your training your ear to hear something 2 times. Reachism, sorry that you're late. We are wrapping it up. You can, however, re-watch the video in a little bit. But thanks again. Thanks for coming out. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Lots of thank yous coming in the chat. That's awesome. Yes, Nihad says, yesterday we had a school concert. Very cool, Nihad. And yeah, bye Beata, Kate, Lucas, Birvizan, Nihad, Clive, Lost, Rachel, Golsa, Lolly, Kate, Assad, Razula, all of you guys, thanks so much. And I'll see some of you tomorrow night in the live stream. And I hope that you have a good day. I'm going to push this button now that's